Welcome to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com, RockAuto.com, and State Farm. Here's your MotorWeek podcast host, John Davis.
Thank you, Alec Webb. Welcome to MotorWeek podcast number 222. And I want to welcome the other members of our podcast trio, or no, I guess it's a quartet when you include me. Our writer, Brian Robinson.
Hello, John.
Who makes me sound great every week when I thank you, Brian. Over the Edge reporter, Greg Carlos.
Hi there.
And our road test producer, Kyle Scanlon.
Hello.
Very good. Let's get to it. Some of the vehicles that we've been in recently, either at a press preview or here on our own lot. 2020 Toyota Camry and Avalon TRD. The TRD being Toyota's racing development program. V6, 301 horsepower, 8-speed automatic, 19-inch wheels, blah, yada. Okay, you're putting a racing trim package on the quintessential family and premium sedans in America. Did it work? Who wants to start?
I'll jump in there. Yes and no. They're both were pretty impressive. Again, no more power than the regular V6 Camry. Mostly just trim. It does sit a little bit lower with suspension tweaks. They both had a unique exhaust on there, though.
Sounded pretty good.
Which, on the Avalon more so than the Camry. I would say between the two, I was more impressed with the Avalon.
And I agree with that.
And that thing sounded great. It felt quick. It handled great. The Camry
that was
did
not
as
what
well.
I expected. I thought the Camry would be, slightly, tuned a little bit more than the Avalon, but it was the other way around.
I definitely thought the Camry would be a little bit peppier than it was, but it was still a blast to drive. I would love, and I know it's never going to happen, but if they had a 6-speed in that Camry, that would definitely be a blast to drive. That's for sure.
Yeah, they've got the same problem Ford always had with their family sedans. You bring out a performance-oriented model, and most people don't get it. But I give them credit for doing it. They certainly didn't have to do it. They probably don't sell 5 more than they would have without it. Mm-hmm. But they were nice packages.
I think they probably went a little bit over the top with the bodywork. The spoiler or wing, whatever you want to call it, on the Camry was a bit much. I understand what they're trying to do, but like we said with the Avalon, and it drove great. We really enjoyed driving it. I think subtlety might have been even cooler in that situation, where if you just let it drive great and maybe add a little bit of black trim here and maybe a little bit of this and that there, instead of going like full on.
So it looks like a boy racer now.
And
which a lot of people may not like.
I don't know if that was like purposeful to just kind of, because these were the first TRDs, right? So do they want to just make a statement and then maybe they'll calm them down if they can continue to go in the future? I just have a hard time seeing somebody go in for a Camry and being like, yep, give me that TRD.
Well, if they want to say, I guess, I don't want to look like every other mother and father that picks up their child.
Be the cool dad.
Yeah,
the cool
definitely
one.
Be the cool dad.
All right, but good effort, right?
Yeah, good effort.
For sure, yeah.
To Greg's point, I would have rather keep the exterior mostly the same and throw another 50 horsepower in there.
Yeah, put the money there.
Make it more of a sleeper. Yeah, that'd be cool.
But interesting additions, and I'm glad to see Toyota, who obviously has an awful lot of money, not just get smug about markets. And like everyone else, they're concerned about sedan sales falling, so they're trying to do something to at least show they still care. So good for them.
They've been racing that Camry in NASCAR for 10 or 12 years now, so might as well have something in the streets translate.
Some success too, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, quite a bit. The other end of the spectrum in a way, the 2020 Jeep Wrangler diesel. It's not the new V6 EcoDiesel that's been in the 1500 Ram. 8-speed automatic, only offered in the 4-door, unlimited for now anyway. Starts about $38,000. A lot of torque.
Yes.
442 pound-feet.
Yeah, I'd say it's only available in the 4 doors right now.
Can you imagine that engine in the 2-door?
If you're getting a 4-door, I'd say skip right over that V6 option and either go 4-cylinder turbo or, this one, I really enjoy this engine.
I loved it. I did love it.
I thought it might bog the front end down a little bit, but it didn't seem to.
It is pretty heavy, isn't it? It adds like at least 300 pounds.
Yeah, but there's also they updated the suspension a little bit to match that, to keep it as relatively the same to the gas engine as they could.
Similar to the Gladiator, something Jeep people have been asking for years and years and years. So now that they finally delivered it, it'll be interesting to see how many people
actually buy it.
them. Yeah.
It definitely clatters too, but it's not like over the top diesel engine, which I think is nice. It's like just enough.
You
for
want
the
it
sweet
to
spot.
style. I mean,
Yeah, show it off.
Yeah, you definitely know you're in a diesel when you're driving it, but not over the top like Greg says.
rolling coal.
Would you buy it if you basically were in the market for a Jeep? I mean, you three are not the dyed-in-the-wool off-roaders, but if you were presented with those three options and you could afford it, would you gravitate that way?
I'd get the diesel for sure.
Right.
I always prefer the diesel. Doesn't matter what vehicle.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, without question. Wow. But I would strongly consider that 2-liter turbo. Yeah, because hey, look, man, that 6-cylinder's a dog. Just the standard gas engine. The 2-liter has torque. I drove that thing, and I think it has. Is that the only one with the manual of it? No, not the 6-cylinder does have a manual available. Yeah. But I remember driving that 2-liter on the event, and I was impressed with it. It's also a mild hybrid too.
So yeah, that's true. So tell me though, when a lot of people steer away from turbos on off-road vehicles because they think you're going to be waiting for that extra rush of power. Not so?
Not anymore. Yeah. Not in my experience with this specific engine, and honestly, a lot of modern turbo engines, they have torque super way down low. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they're small. They put small turbos on them so they spin up faster.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to move now to a segment that Greg has coming up. It's one of his over-the-edge segments, Dominion Street Racing. Tell us what it's all about and where you did it.
Yeah, I got a couple of them. So,
why you did it.
Yeah, Dominion Raceway and Entertainment in Spotsylvania, Virginia.
Just below Fredericksburg.
Yep, not too far from Washington, D.C. They have a oval track. They have a road course that we've used multiple times. And on Friday nights during most of the year, they have street racing, legal street racing. So basically at around 6 o'clock at night, cars start rolling in. It's $10 to watch, $20 a run all night, whatever you want to run.
Do they do it in that center track area? Where do they do it at?
On the front straight of the road course.
Really?
Why is it called street racing?
Because it's no prep racing. It's not drag racing has the connotation now, I think, with a lot of people where like it's got to be prep. You bring like track cars that are only track cars there. Or you got to pay a little bit more to get in. Yeah, it's more of an official thing. So street racing is
run what you brung.
Right, and beyond its illegality is, like you said, run what you brung. It's just heads up. They aren't timing. It's basically you line up, you go on a flashlight start, and whoever gets to the finish line first wins. And it's its own style. It's very like bare knuckles in that way.
Did they do anything like classic? Like so you had a flashlight. Somebody
so no. All right. So here's how it goes down. Most people just show up with their Civic they just bought or their brand new Mustang they just bought. And for most of the night, they had an actual tree that was just running. So yellow, 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 green. But there was an actual, Modified DMV is a car club down there, and they are like the serious street racers. They're the ones who are like, guys, we got to get off the street and start coming here.
Because they're racing. We can't afford the tickets anymore.
and they're racing for money. I mean, we were watching them as they were doing a whole thing. These are serious guys with serious cars. And the specific night, that night was a streetcar event. So they had to go run a 15-mile loop, come back, and go right to the start line. Wow. That is when they started doing the flashlight starts that you see on TV where
in the movies.
They line him up and then he runs back and flashlight and then they're off and they're racing. First one wins and you take home the pot at the end of the night. And that's how it was from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. It was just constant running. There's a ton of people there. It was really, really awesome, actually. It's it's an authentic street racing feel because they don't have lights down there. It's all dark. I mean, people just rolling out without helmets or anything. And they're just... you find somebody you want to race, you start bragging to the wrong person, they'll call you out, and you just get in line and race that person.
Dominion's probably, if not the newest, certainly one of the newest racing circuits and parks in the country, and they've done an incredible job. And it's kind of located out a little bit in the middle of nowhere, although it's only an hour south of D.C. And very nice people, and I'm delighted to see them using some imagination to bring in people.
Steve Britt
he's
is really cool.
Good guy.
He basically got the inspiration. It was like, well, yeah, we can do this.
Yeah.
And it's twofold for them. They excuse me, I have a much deeper voice than that. It's a great business idea for them, but they're also helping because street racing is absolutely a real thing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, people are out on the streets proving that their car's faster, and a lot of times it ends very, very badly for themselves and other people. So they're bringing people off the street and saying, hey, race on our completely unprepped surface.
Which brings me to what happened recently when two Corvette engineers down in Bowling Green, Kentucky, got basically pulled over for street racing. There was actually a third car that wasn't involved. They had they were bound there, I guess helping launch the production of the Corvette. So they had three cars out, one red, one white, one blue, and two of them found an open road and went down for a little car to car, and
they got nicked.
So that's why you want to go to something like this, where that's not going to happen.
Absolutely.
You're not going to get a ticket at a no prep event.
Can't wait to see it. Sounds like a great segment. Okay, lightning round. Panelists have 30 seconds, although we really don't watch a clock anymore. So here we go. There are rumors, and actually it's been even semi-confirmed, that General Motors is going to bring back the Hummer name, not the brand, but the name, and they're going to stick it on an EV. Word is that GM will revive the name as a series of all-electric pickup trucks and probably a large SUV if it's successful. The Super Bowl is coming up, and that's where they say that they will be using LeBron James to introduce it to the world. If I think for nothing else, we're going to watch the Super Bowl to see if that happens.
Drove Kia K900. So
I did too. It's a rumor. GM won't talk about it, but it popped up in the news almost every day in the last week or so. Okay, so here's the question. The Hummer name is going to be Hummer by GMC because they sell it through GMC dealers. That's the rumor. What do you think about the whole concept? Should they be using that? Do you think they'll look like Hummers of before, or is it just be the name? What do you think?
I think that's the ultimate, right? Isn't the original
the gas guzzler SUV?
Correct.
More.
They were getting torched by all the environmental warriors out there. Entire dealerships were getting torched. But yeah, it would be the ultimate turn of events. I say go for it.
I mean, if it's what we think it's going to be, a fairly, if not full size, almost full size vehicle. And with the ruggedness that Hummer's famous for, it'll be. We just talked about the Wrangler diesel. Well, the Wrangler's got a mild hybrid already, and it looks like it'll be exactly what the market may want. Kyle, you kind of were at the tail end of the whole Hummer thing.
Well, I mean, I will say, as a kid, I remember specifically my parents were doing some work on their house, and the contractor showed up in this custom all red interior matching H1 original military style
the
Hummer.
military one.
Yeah, the real ones. And I had already loved cars, but I feel like that kind of might have been a little turning point in my life for when I really, really loved it. I got to sit in it and look around. It was one of the coolest things I had ever seen at that point in my very, very young life. I guess I kind of have to reserve what I think because I got to see it first.
Yeah.
That's really where I'm at because I was in love with the original military Hummer so much as a child. With that name being attached to something new, I really need to see what it looks like.
But you saw what the H2s looked like, and so were the civilians. So you didn't like that?
No. It was the original or nothing, and then the H3s. And I was recently at Home Depot, and someone had one of the H2 or H3s that had the little pickup bed in the back, and I literally laughed out loud when I saw it. And so,
what was the Subaru that had that?
Oh, the Baja
and the Brad before that.
Oh, yeah.
Greg, you haven't commented any. What do you think about a Hummer EV.
Sure, why not? You have the name.
Electric motors.
Everybody else. Yeah, there you go. Everybody else is bringing back old names. You're going to bring it as an EV.
So it's coming into a market that'll have, a Ford F-150 pickup truck. Of course, you got the Tesla that they've shown. You've got Rivian that'll probably be sold through Ford dealers maybe. And I think Chevy's going to get some kind of EV out of this same plant. I stepped back and said, why? And one of the answers that I've been given is these are all, well, maybe not Tesla, but all the rest of them are hedges against what might happen with the fuel economy rules. Mm-hmm. If California wins in court and they can still set their own fuel economy rules, these vehicles will give the manufacturers a way of offsetting internal combustion engine vehicles. And if they don't, well, it was an experiment. But why do you think there's a big market for an all-electric pickup truck?
Not right now. I don't think.
I think there's a market for utility in the way that EV pickup trucks create space and use their space wisely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, sure. I think so. I mean, as long as they can haul and tow and give enough space, and sure.
Most pickup trucks don't do long distance.
No,
I shouldn't say that. I mean, they didn't used to.
Yeah.
Now that they're personal use vehicles, I'm not so sure. But
I mean, I know you're going to, all the good old boys that got their trucks and stuff like that, it's going to be difficult to get them to swing over and, swallow the pill of an all-electric truck, especially guys that, diesels like the roll coal and all that stuff.
All right, let's stop a second.
Okay.
You drive a pickup truck, your own personal vehicle,
yes, I
to
do.
Work every day. Okay. Now, would you be in the market for it, for an electric one? If the price was decent and it had capability, I mean, your truck's not the most... You can't tow and haul the maximum for your truck.
Yeah, no. I have, a very standard truck.
I like the perfect person to ask. You're also young.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm on the fence about it. It would definitely, if it test drove really well, if the price was right, and, if with it being all EV with the electric charging stations.
Say you got 250, 300 miles worth of range.
I mean, it could work for me. Potentially it would work logistically, but there's just something about it that I'm unsure of.
It's going to be a hard little hill.
It is. It would be a hard little hill to climb.
I think you're right.
I don't think the typical truck buyer is who they will be going after and who will be buying it.
No.
It's going to be people that want the latest, greatest tech. It's going to be people that buy stuff like Honda Ridgelines. They're not truck people, but they want an all-purpose vehicle that gets fuel economy and is easy to use and something their neighbors will check out.
I agree with you, but that's a limited volume, and these things. There's going to be a lot of these damn things around.
All EVs are limited volume right now, so it's not going to be any different.
All righty, let's go on to our viewer question. What happens to the cars that we test after we test them?
They go live on a nice farm.
They're definitely rode hard and put away wet.
Some of the people I know who test them, they don't. I wouldn't get in them afterwards.
The simple answer, Jamie, is they go back to the manufacturer, and some cases it used to be that they would end up living out their days as test vehicles for the manufacturers, where they'd turn them over to their engineers and they would try new powertrains on them, and they basically would live out their years on a proving ground somewhere. And that was if they were a pre-production model. I understand most of them end up going to auction. They get refurbished with new tires and stuff and out the door.
Yeah, if they give a legit VIN number on them, they'll get auctioned off. But ones that are pre-production, like you said, without the full VIN, they usually end up getting crushed, I think.
Most of the test cars we get are only in service till they get about 8,000 miles on them, usually not any more than that. So they go to the auction at that point. They may be auctioned off as executive cars or
driven by
cars,
John Davis.
Whatever. Well, that would be the easy one. It's the Greg Carlos being driven by I would worry about. The simple answer is you probably can't know. There's probably no real way of finding out, except maybe if it's got unusually low mileage, that could be the one, because they usually don't have very much mileage. And the other thing is if someone's involved in an accident in one of the test cars, they usually get pulled out of service right quick as well. So that's what happened to them. Somebody's probably driving around in one of our recent test cars and doesn't even know it. Rant and rave, anyone?
I got one.
Yeah, shoot.
The big chrome grille on the Chevy Silverado 2500 HD. It is way too much. It's over the top. It is
as if the half ton wasn't already.
Oh, it is horrible. And that was the number one complaint I heard from, when I was driving the thing home. And, like everyone knows already, I own a truck. A lot of my friends have trucks. And I drove it to a place where I met a bunch of my buddies who all had other trucks. And they saw that and they were like, good God, what is going on with that thing?
It's massive.
It's just a lot.
It's massive and in your face.
It is.
And
too much chrome. Way too much chrome.
What do is this big grill thing, is it going to die? The new Genesis GV80, which was just shown, this huge shield on the front, the biggest one I've ever seen on the front of the car. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of looking in my rearview mirror and seeing these things occupying all of the real estate. Any other comment about that?
No comment.
Would you be seen? Do you think anything's too much? Did you think it's too much?
Well, when you come to HD pickup trucks, too much is just enough. That's what most people are looking for.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's true. And you drive a half ton, so you don't qualify.
Yeah, I don't qualify.
Right.
If the Silverado grill is not too much, I would hate to see what too much is.
Yeah,
that is just too much.
Well, you do. If you look, it's funny. If you look, I don't know what Ford's planning, but actually, Ram has pulled back a little bit. Mm-hmm. They've actually seemed to be toning their front ends down a little bit. Maybe it's
everything's cyclical. They'll get small, and they'll get big again, and they'll go small, whatever.
Let's hope so. All right, I want to thank our three experts around the table: Brian Robinson, Greg Carlos, and Kyle Scanlon, and me, who plays an expert on TV. Our auto engineer Jim Bigwood, our podcast creator Bob Mixter, and our producer, as usual, Greg Carlos. Thank you all very much, and thanks to everyone out there who is a faithful listener to our MotorWeek podcast. And I assume you watch the program on television or a video screen near you, but if you don't, go on to our MotorWeek.org website, click up on the top when it says about the show, and you can find out what public television station in your area is showing us, which is just about all of them. And if that doesn't fill your need, hop over to your cable system and look at us on Motor Trend Cable Network. We're delighted to be with them as well. To everyone out there, thank you very much for listening and for being a part of the MotorWeek family.
You've been listening to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com, RockAuto.com, and State Farm. For additional information on podcasts, videos, and showtimes, visit our website at motorweek.org. And watch MotorWeek, television's longest-running automotive magazine series each week on your local PBS station.